As followers of Jesus, in whom all things were made, we acknowledge the Darug people as the traditional custodians of the country of where this podcast is recorded. We acknowledge their continuing connection to the land and waters, and thank them for protecting this land and its ecosystems since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and future, and we extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today. Hi, I'm Georgia.
And I'm Simone.
And welcome to episode 50 of the Hope Book Club podcast. I'm so excited for this. I feel like we can only take credit for like 4 at the moment, but
4 or 5, yeah.
But episode 50, where we gush about books and talk about literature from a hope-filled Christian lens. And we hope this podcast, as always, makes you think, makes you laugh, and most of all, makes you read.
Well, this episode, we're going to talk about book adaptations. And as always, it's a spoiler-free episode. We won't be spoiling any of the books we talk about here. But the reason we're talking about book adaptations is, Georgia, you and I were like doing our usual chatting during lunch, talking about stuff, random things, mostly books.
Mostly books, always books.
And you told me the most amazing story about like All Quiet on the Western Front, which is like a book adaptation that just won like a whole pile of Oscars.
Yeah, so this is a really cool story that I found while just preparing for the radio show. Just before the Oscars, I found this article about All Quiet on the Western Front, which, as you probably know, is a classic wartime novel, a German book about the First World War. Basically, Paul, I'm going to say it wrong, Baumer and his classmates enlist in the army. They had, this idyllic, representation of what war would be, and then they're confronted with the reality of the situation. So very sad book, but has been made into a movie before. Actually won Best Picture at the 1930 Oscars. So the third Academy Awards. It won Best Picture. It's been remade though. Fast forward to modern times. This story starts with actually a Scottish woman called Leslie Patterson. She fell in love with the novel in high school, like absolutely fell in love with it. And she had this thought back in 2006. She's like, I'll tell you what, I want to make a movie. I want to make this movie. So she researched to see if the rights were available, and surprisingly they were. So she bought them, she snatched them up. But the thing about Leslie, she's not in the film industry. She's actually a world champion triathlete.
Wait, so not in the film industry, not even like, an English teacher or like an author or anything like that?
Yeah, not that I could tell.
Okay, yeah.
Don't know her entire background, but just loves the novel, basically. So what she did, she teamed up with a writing partner. She's like, I can't write this script, but I really want to make this happen. Back in 2006, they wrote their first script and gave it to some producers. And they said it was dreadful. Worse, I think the actual phrase, worse than horrible, was what was in the article. But they persevered. For 10 years, writing script after script, and they were getting somewhere. But then in 2016, 10 years after they acquired the rights, they needed the money to renew them. And this is like, it just said in the article 5 figures. So we're talking, upwards of $10,000, possibly in the tens of thousands of dollars. They didn't have that money. They didn't have a movie yet. So Leslie knew that the only way they could make the money, and they needed to make the money quickly as well. I think the rights were due in like a couple of months. So she's like, I'll tell you what I'm good at. Triathlons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to win a triathlon and use my winnings to pay for it. Of course, you can't predict these things, but
I love the confidence.
No, she did what she did. She knew she was a world champion triathlete, so she went to this triathlon in Costa Rica, and she traveled there. She was just kind of doing some training, and the day before the triathlon, she was doing the course, like as a training run, and she broke her shoulder. Completely.
Timing of that is just whoa.
Broke her shoulder. So you'd think, okay, well, that's it. She's out. No. Not Leslie. She was so determined to get this prize money and renew these rights. She actually did the triathlon with a broken shoulder the very next day.
People's endurance. I mean, that is a book lover.
Okay. So she swam 1.6 kilometers, literally one-armed. One-armed. She got out of the water dead last, as you can imagine. So 12 minutes behind the leader at that point. Then the bike leg, 40 kilometers of biking. And you can imagine Costa Rica, that's quite, difficult terrain. She somehow rode her way into second place in 40-degree heat, by the way. You can imagine the humidity. Yuck.
That's, wow.
10-kilometer run was next. And she somehow, late into that run, they had like 1 kilometer to go. She overtook the leader. She won. They renewed the rights. They made payment. And then basically fast forward 7 years, it got nominated for 9 Oscars, ended up winning 5.
That's incredible. Like, that is a book lover who is determined to get her favorite book into a film.
I think a movie should have been made about Leslie Patterson trying to make this into a movie. Like, it would be very meta.
It would.
But yeah, that's the story.
Maybe that's what we need to do. That's incredible. Like, so far, like, people will go so far sometimes to see like the book that they've fallen in love with on the screen. Like, and I was like, it made me think there are so many adaptations right now. We're talking like Percy Jackson's about to get a new adaptation.
Is this the worst time to admit that I've never read or seen Percy Jackson?
Honestly, like, I haven't actually read it. I think I watched one of the old films, but like the hype around it has been huge.
Maybe I need to get into it just to...
Maybe we do. But it's not the only one. Like, there are so many adaptations right now. So it made me think, like, what book would you go to extraordinary lengths to get made into a film or TV?
This is a hard one for me because so many of my favorite books have already been made into movies. I'm like, oh, this one. And I'm like, oh, no, hang on. That's already a movie. That's already a movie. That's already a TV show. But I did think of a recent one. And I feel like this is cheating somehow because I think there is a TV show in production, but it hasn't been released yet. So
you don't know if it's going to be good or if you'd want to redo it.
I did mention this book in the last episode briefly, or 2 episodes ago. It's All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. One of the most fantastic books of the last decade. I think it won the Pulitzer Prize back in 2014. The novel is set in World War II and it centers around the 2 main characters of Marie LeBlanc, who is a blind French girl who takes refuge in her uncle's house in Saint Malo, which is an island in France after Paris gets occupied by the Nazis. So basically she has to stay safe. You get the perspective of the book, of what she is experiencing in the war, not being able to see. Incredible. Wow. That is then paralleled by the story of Werner, who is a German boy, very, very good at fixing things, gets enlisted into military school to fight for the Germans, and eventually their paths intersect at the end of the book. So it's kind of like a parallel situation, wartime from the eyes of children. Deeply sad book. But very moving as well. And I thought this could be a fantastic adaptation. And I think I would... Okay, it's being made into a TV show, and I think purely that is because of the length of the book. The book is, I think, almost 700 pages or something. It's long. It's long, very long. But I just think it should be a movie. I feel like long movies are all the rage now. Sim, you've had Marvel for so long doing these 3.5 hour movies. Like, just bring it out, let me watch it all in one setting, because I think you need to feel the emotion of the entire novel as a whole.
But what if, so one of the things that I love is movies like, say, Lord of the Rings, where it's sort of one book, but it's split up into 3 movies. So basically a 9-hour movie, or kind of like the old TV, like the BBC, like mini series. So you're not going like full TV show, but you've got like 3 episodes that are like an hour 15 each.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I just don't want them to, I don't know, I just don't feel I don't want them to Hollywoodify it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. But then that's the trouble with movies, isn't it? Like sometimes it does that, true. Or you miss stuff. I'm very passionate about my my adaptations. Yeah,
as I can tell. So I think who I would recommend this one to. If you enjoyed The Book Thief, Marcus Zuzak. I think if you enjoyed the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. So
Okay,
things like the King's Speech as well. So you want wartime, but not necessarily all about the war.
Yes.
I think that would be great. And in terms of my dream cast, I'm not great with actors' names and faces, Sim. I'm really not. You are much more of a TV buff than me. And I don't really know many child actors, so I don't know about that. But I know for a fact that the eccentric uncle that Marie is staying with, who has I think he has PTSD, so he's quite an eccentric character. That's actually being played by Hugh Laurie from House. And I'm like, that is perfect. That is perfect casting because he just plays the best kind of strange
So you'd want to keep that. Keep that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you?
So for me, I love The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, I haven't read that book since I was 8.
Right? It's one of those ones that often gets forgotten in the whole Narnia kind of world and universe.
Because technically it's the one before The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, right? You've got The Magician's Nephew and then The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and then 5 others afterwards.
Yeah, so it was written after, but it's actually written as a prequel.
Yeah.
So basically it is about the creation and sort of how Narnia came to be. And there's this really cool kind of thread and story through about the lamppost, which is really kind of central and big in the Narnia series. And it's one of the few Narnia books that hasn't been made into a TV series or movie.
Ever.
Ever.
That seems like a missed opportunity. Considering with how big Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, even Prince Caspian was, yeah.
I would love to see it made into that, but still not as a separate thing, literally as part of that Narnia movie universe.
Oh.
So
I have a question. When you watch not even old movies 10 to 15 years ago, do you think it would seem out of place if they were to make it now, or is there ways to make it seem like they made it 10 or 15 years ago?
See, I actually feel it's kind of better because you're creating this universe, this world, right? So I feel the technology to really show that maybe wasn't there 10 to 15 years ago. Whereas now, you could kind of already have the world and have the universe there.
Sure.
So now they could go back and kind of make it. And like you said, do it with that same feel, that same look, all of that. So as much as I usually prefer a TV series, because I feel you miss so much of the book. Sometimes when it's condensed down into 2 hours. I really would like to see this as an actual film. Just this one.
Just that one, okay.
Just so it fits in the Narnia universe.
Yeah.
Sure. So it's very much I'd recommend it if you like the Narnia series. It's very light fantasy. So one of the things that I'd recommend is if you like things that are kind of fantasy but nothing, and still kind of grapples with good, dark, temptation, all of those sort of shades of grey, but you don't want anything that's too heavy. It's definitely one of those. The whole Narnia series is kind of like that.
And it has quite strong Christian themes throughout because C.S. Lewis was obviously a Christian, yeah.
And he specifically wrote that series sort of as allegories, for faith. And I think it's great with that because it brings hope. It brings a lightness while still having that full fantasy feel. And yeah, I honestly, again, not sure. I'd want to see I guess some of the directors and the original people who did the Narnia series come back and be involved. But I don't really know dream cast. I'm not.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
It's really hard. I think there are definitely some amazing actors out there, and it would be cool to see kind of an unknown in these roles so that you don't have anything, especially for the kids.
Yeah.
There's nothing to think of. Yeah. I mean, these sorts of movies often launch kids' careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So I was wondering, is there an adaptation that you feel was perfect, or at least as close to perfect as you wanted?
Okay, can I give some honourable mentions before I...
Sure.
Because I found it really hard. It's like picking between my children. I think
Book children.
the Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society was absolutely brilliant.
I agree.
With Lily James, I think everything she does is great, to be honest, especially that romance side. Yeah, obviously not, I wouldn't say it's a romance movie, but it has, strong elements in there. I think just the way that was done so very true to the time, and also the way they adapted that book, because it was all, if you haven't read it, it's all in letters to characters, the entire book, which took some getting used to. And I think it's really hard to translate that well onto a screen, but they really did it well, in my opinion. But my one true love is Pride and Prejudice, the BBC version, of course, not the movie. Yes, Keira Knightley's great, but no. We're not about that here. It's all about Colin Firth and Jennifer Eel, BBC series here. And the reason I love it is because it is just so true to detail. So true, not only to the books, but also just to the detail of the time. And BBC series are. They are. That's what they do so well.
They know how to, they also know how to just pace the film perfectly as well.
That's what it was. I think, 6 episodes, about an hour each. So it's about 6 hours. I think everything they put in, they really didn't miss any major detail of the book. No. And it was brilliantly paced, and also the chemistry between the characters was fantastic. Especially Colin Firth and Jennifer Eel, obviously. Mr. Darcy and Lizzie Bennet were brilliant, but also the background characters, Mr. Bennet, Mrs. Bennet, I just think they are so perfectly cast. That was my favorite. Sim, your favorite adaptation of all time?
Okay, so I have to give a honourable mention just for one as well, and that is actually the BBC North and South. It, again, just...
We're BBC fans here.
I mean, if you're a classic book lover, how can you not love the way that they adapt films? Adapt into miniseries. So Richard Armitage was just perfect in that. But my absolute favourite, and this could be quite controversial between book lovers, is the latest Little Women adaptation.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so, I've heard people either love it or don't.
Exactly. It's very much one of those, you love the way they've done it or you hate it. And there were a lot of changes, I will admit. It was not
it wasn't true to the book.
It wasn't
in the classic
word for
sense.
word true to the book in the classic sense. But I feel like the key scenes and the understanding of what the book was trying to say and what the book was kind of what she stayed true to. And Saoirse Ronan is spectacular as Jo, but big shout out to my favourite, Florence Pugh. She is absolutely amazing. And as someone who in the book loved the character of Amy, I really just loved her character, and so few adaptations of that book have managed to get Amy right. And I felt like this one did, the beautiful contrast of Jo and Amy, and sort of their very similar personalities, but yet the way that they then dealt with the challenges of having that personality and that character in that time period was so vastly different. So I loved that one.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, now let's answer some comments that we've gotten over the past couple of weeks. So as always, you can send us a voicemail. We would love to hear from you. You can give feedback on any of the books that we've chatted about, the books that you're loving at the moment, and also any recommendations that you want to give us. If there's a book you want us to review, we'd love to hear it. Here is the number. It's 0298547025. That is in the show notes as well.
Yep.
Or you can jump on our Facebook page. We have gotten a whole bunch new members over the past few weeks that have jumped in the group. You can just search for Hope Book Club on Facebook. And some of these comments are actually from the Facebook group, Sim.
Yeah, so for International Women's Day, we actually we wanted to get some recommendations written by women. So some of our book club members came through, and Jean said, I might get this one wrong,
Phosphorescence by Julia Baird.
Yes, Awe, Wonder and Things That Sustain You When the World Goes Dark by Julia Baird was sort of her recommendation. I think that's great. And then Cheryl said, in Christian writing, I enjoy most books by Francine Rivers.
Redeeming Love series.
Yep. Australian author Geraldine Brooks is a fabulous writer. All her books are great. I particularly love People of the Book. So that's one I haven't heard of before. I need to look into.
Geraldine Brooks. Okay.
And then for light holiday reading, she said Maeve Binchy has The Irish Gift of the Gab. And that, yes.
I have a couple of Maeve Binchy books at home and I don't think I've read them. I think I need to now.
I know. Especially, I mean, you know, St. Patrick's Day was recently.
Yes, exactly.
So, we just want to say, thanks for your comments. We've got a whole pile of others. Definitely check them out.
Yeah, and actually just join the Facebook group because we post several times a week. Lots of different questions. You can just chat with other book lovers as well and get to meet them virtually. So for the next episode, Sim, we're going to be back reviewing with another book, the brand new one from Pip Williams called The Bookbinder of Jericho. So you can order it from wherever you get your books, your library. You might have to tell your library to order it in because this is seriously brand new. We're going to be reviewing that in 2 weeks, which I'm really excited about. Once again, the Dictionary of Lost Words. How many times can I mention that in every episode? I feel like it's becoming a challenge at this point. But her first debut novel, The Dictionary of Lost Words, I really loved. Apparently, this one is actually set in a similar world. I don't know if the same world. Sorry, I don't know if it's if there's any recurring characters. But so if you love The Dictionary of Lost Words, you'll love this one. You can read along with us and
and we'd love to hear your thoughts again. If you are reading along, give us a call or on that 02985470025. Leave us a post in the Facebook group. All of that, and again, all of this is in the show notes, so you can find it there.
Absolutely. And we'd also love this podcast to reach more people. That way you can help us share it with who needs to hear it. So the way you can do that is to rate, to review, subscribe to get all the episodes in your feed as well, and share it with some book lover friends. What I've really loved about people joining the Facebook group is people inviting their friends to it.
Yes.
I can see by who has joined, it says invited by someone so-and-so, which is really fantastic. So
big thank you to those that have done that.
Thank you. And do the same with the podcast. If you know friends that love reading. Until then, we'll catch you next time. Sim, I believe you have a quote to end on.
Yep, I thought I'd go with Louisa May Alcott.
Your favourite?
Yes. Keep good company, read good books, love good things, and cultivate soul and body as faithfully as you can.
I love that. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.